Hey you guys, Jet888 here, and this is just a quick follow-up on the video that I did a couple days ago. It's April 6th today, and I just got a call back from San Diego Gas and Electric's Daniel Fleeham. It's F-L-I, I guess it's E-H-A-M or F-L-I-H-A-M, and he said that it's spraying this, or not spraying, but putting these white granules is the industry standard. And I reminded him or told him that Dazomet is highly toxic. I listed off all the reasons why it's toxic. It's activated by moisture and it becomes a fumigant, and it's also set off by electricity, which these are in electric poles. He said that he's just doing his job, and I reminded him of the Nuremberg Code. I just kind of went through all the things that I had read and studied about this poison, and just reminding him that he's part of this, and to use this as he's just doing his job, which he did. He said he's just doing his job. I reminded him of the Nuremberg Code, so that doesn't float water anymore. I also mentioned to him how there's 150 volts coming from his poles, and when I'm standing underneath them, I'm being affected. And high voltage can make your blood viscous, and I described that to him, and that just makes your blood thick, meaning that you don't oxygenate well. You know, the red blood cells aren't moving the way they should, and you can have strokes or heart attacks from having such thick, viscous blood. And his response was just, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. So something about these guys, because the last two people I talked about, the first guy that owns that pole company, or the one that has the crystal granules that's coming out, he was super agreeable, yes, ma'am, yeah, because they don't want to make waves. They know that they're in the wrong. Anyhow, when I was talking to Daniel about the high voltage, and I said there's 150 volts that I'm hitting, like if I'm standing here like that little person underneath the pole, which is on near my property, I can go many, many feet away and I still have the numbers of 150 volts on my tri-field meter. So that's highly dangerous. And he even admitted it. He said, well, if you have 150 volts, there's something wrong. Well, yeah, because for 3 years now I've been telling them to come out and fix it, which they haven't. See, here's a little thing about blood viscosity. That's how thick your blood is. It says, so viscosity is ease that fluid flows. So your fluid is your blood, increases when there are more formed elements or plasma proteins, and as viscosity increases, so does blood pressure. So I don't think any of us need higher blood pressure. Looking at this site, Mr. Electric, it's mrelectric.com, recognizing the dangers of utility poles. And here's real quick something that they wrote. Oh, not to mention the LED lights there, right? That's a whole nother story. This says, chemical toxins. Wood utility poles are treated with preservatives to help them last longer and keep bugs away. Unfortunately, these preservatives contain dangerous chemicals that harm humans, animals, and the environment. Many cause cancer, birth defects, reproductive problems, and nervous system damage. And I saw the other day how that chemical Dazomet is a neurotoxin. Okay, so right now I'm in my yard, and this is reading the volts per meter. Do you see that? It's 224 volts per meter. And this is, I'm this far away from the pole on my property. There's my crow. Do you see that? This is too high. So here's 176. Anyhow, this is just not acceptable. Too high. I'm even further, and it's 192 volts, so I've got that and that power pole. volts per meter, 234. So here is standard. That earlier as showing was weighted. Now this is standard, and it's 310, 11, 12 volts per meter. And I'm this far into my property. Again, I'm this far into my property, and it's still 80 volts per meter. So here I'm very, very far away from the power pole, and it's only 1 volt per meter. And when I look at the weighted magnetic, the electric field volts, it's like 0. At my front door, it's 0 volts per meter. I'm way far away from the electric pole, but there is a wire going in here, but it still reads 0. So there's more than just the voltage that they're kind of injuring us with. It's also the toxins that they're injecting into the poles. So I don't think San Diego Gas and Electric or Sempra, owned by Sempra, is doing their due diligence. So Sempra is a North American public utility holding company based in San Diego, California. The company is one of the largest utility holding companies in the United States with nearly 40 million consumers. Their stock prices are going up. Subsidiary of San Diego Gas and Electric, and CEO is Jeffrey W. Martin as of 2018. So he kind of took over right in the beginning of all this huge fiasco this country's going through. The world, actually. So here's Jeffrey W. Martin right there. And just for entertainment purposes, I just wanted to look at his the numbers, the numerology for gematria real quick. One is follow white rabbit, and another is end of the world now, otherwise like NWO, New World Order. And it's funny because that's 201, like event 201, the Johns Hopkins University. Everything is frequency. And you got that right. Frequency, I think, is God. Everything has a frequency. And they're destroying ours. And the English and simple gematria are also Knights Templar, Shelves are bare, Wheel of Fortune, which gets a lot deeper into everything else, because I've hit this before too. Wheel of Fortune. And Third World War. Here we are, 1038, 173. Agenda 21. And Yellow Brick Road. So the Chief Executive Officer of Sempra Energy, Jeffrey W. Martin, he received his education at the United States Military Academy, the Military Academy in Texas at El Paso. Just looking quickly at this document, International Director of Company Histories. I found this on archive.org. Just one thing about Sempra. It says Sempra is the name. The Sempra name is derived from the Latin word for always. So you look at gematria, ritual, telegram, always, source, tower, Masons. One more little interesting thing about Jeffrey W. Martin. Part of his community involvement, he supports the Monarch School. You know, the whole butterfly thing, the MK Ultra Monarch is a public K-12 school in San Diego, California, which is exclusively for students who are homeless, at risk of being homeless or impacted by homelessness, it was founded in 1988. Anyhow, they always seem to be involved with children who have like no parents to protect them. And his wife, Lisa Martin, who serves on the school's board of directors. How convenient. If you look at number 7 there, it's one of the references is creating new leaders. A Veterans Day conversation with Sempra Chairman and CEO Jeffrey Martin. Creating new leaders, you know what that is? It's like the New World Order. It's like with butt buddy Klaus Schwab. And in that article, of course, November 11th, that's 1111, November 11th. Here's a few numbers for you for 1111, New Age begins. And isn't that interesting how it's also 666 in English gematria? Just saying. So in this 1111 article about creating new leaders, they also talk about global energy transition. Let's click on that here. And there's Sempra's logo. It looks like GE, doesn't it? So just quickly here, here's General Electric's logo, and here's Sempra's. Do they look a little similar to you? But General Electric, look at that, Charles A. Coffin, how convenient. Subsidiaries, GE Aerospace, and they also GE Healthcare. Healthcare, Aerospace, Electric. And the General Electric CEO, H. Lawrence Culp Jr., he also came on in 2018. Isn't that weird? It seems like they had a big old changeover of controllers in 2018, right before the whole needle crafting adventure started. Let's first go look at one of the founders, though, Charles A. Coffin. Oh, and of course, look at, you got the banker, J.P. Morgan. So from Harvard, Charles A. Coffin, 1901, established a full-scale research laboratory, which we're all part of, which contributed not only to electric development, but also to the advancement of pure science. Wow. Regarding Coffin, way back then, look, they had genders back then. In General Electric, their motto, building a world that works. And going back to the CEO, the current CEO, H. Lawrence Culp of General Electric. Here he is. Got to look over your shoulder, because when you don't tell the truth, then you're evil. So H. Lawrence Larry Culp is the chairman and chief executive officer of GE and chief executive officer of GE Aerospace. Larry is GE's 12th CEO. Here's Larry's biography, and it talks about transformation. So lighting, BioPharma, lighting and BioPharma. He was also president of Fluke and Fluke Networks. And also, there's another company Lawrence Culp was part of, and it's Danaher, Global Science and Technology Innovator. And also in innovation news, Tech Ohio, we are Tech Ohio, GE Aerospace CEO Larry Culp says we plan to grow locally in Ohio. This was on March 14th, 2023. Okay, so sorry, I skipped. So here's the article. GE Aerospace CEO Larry Culp, he says we plan to grow locally in Ohio. GE Aerospace. I just want to show you something. This is March 14th. Here's the article. Tech Ohio, the voice of Ohio, GEO Aerospace CEO Larry Culp. We plan to grow locally in Ohio. This is March 14th. Where have we seen this before? The little pedophile swirl. And he says, this is our home. He said, we're going to grow the business. I can't imagine we're not growing here. And then do you happen to remember on February 3rd, 2023, the Ohio train derailment happened? Do you remember that? And East Palestine, what a weird name. And the dates between February 3rd and when Larry mentioned that about having Ohio their home, March 14th. That's 39 days apart, but it's years, months, and days. It's 111. Remember that article, Creating New Leaders, with Mr. Larry, November 11th? That's 1111. And that's also the New Age begins. 1111. New Age begins. And it's also 666. That's weird, isn't it? So the days between the Ohio derailment and when Larry Culp says that they're going to grow in Ohio, he can't imagine that any other place. I just think the numerology is interesting. And when we look at the word Sempra and always, when you look at the numbers, you add them up and you reduce them, it's 99. So I pretty much feel like the electric company, the aerospace, the biotech, the military complex, I think they're all connected. But I think we all pretty much know this, but we're being radiated, poisoned, and tricked. Anyhow, just the tidbit for the day. Gosh, building a world that works for who? I mean, for who would it work? Anyhow, whenever you can, you guys call them out on their BS and their poisoning of you, because if we don't call them out, at least the least we could be doing is making them busy, jumping through our hoops, not the other way around. Okay, carry on.